So for the single arm dumbbell row, I'm going to show you two different ways to execute it. They're both fine. You pick the one that you're more comfortable doing. The first way involves taking a bench, and we're going to be working our right arm here. And so your left knee and your left hand are going to be against the bench, and that's so we can brace into the bench. Next, what you want to do is you want to get this leg a little out of the way, and it's going to do two things for you. If you're here, it's going to be harder to keep a nice flat back here. It's easier to do that when this foot is a little bit further back, and you can see that automatically helped me straighten out my back nice and easy, a lot easier than if I was like this. I would call it kind of crowding the plate here. The second thing that putting your foot back a little further does, it allows you to kind of pull back on an angle. You'll hear a lot of people say pull to the hip, meaning pull towards your hip on this diagonal, right? Not like this up to the shoulder, but instead like this on a diagonal towards the hip. And if my leg is here, I can't really do that because obviously elbow runs into the leg there. And so if you get this leg out of the way, it makes it a little easier to straighten out your back, keep that lower back neutral, and it also leaves room for me to pull on an angle, which is going to be really good for training the lats, which is primarily what we're trying to work here, but it works a lot of your back muscles all at the same time. So quick recap, if we're working the right arm, left knee goes down, left hand goes down, get this right leg out of the way, spine nice and neutral, right? None of this crap. We're gonna be here, and then we're gonna take the weight, drive it back towards the hip on a diagonal. Some people, in an attempt to pull towards the hip, go a little overboard with it, and it's no big deal, it happens, and they do something like this, where they're like swinging the weight back. That's not what I want. I still want it to be a pull. I don't want it to be this kind of swing with the straight arm. And so you're pulling on a diagonal. You're not swinging the arm back like this. And that might take sending a form video just to have me take a look, because sometimes in an attempt to pull towards the hip, that sort of like swinging motion can happen. Now the second variation is technically called a 3-point row, but it's essentially the same exercise with a different setup, and that's why I'm kind of putting it in the same form video here. Instead of having your knee set up like this, you're going to be facing the bench kind of perpendicularly, or you can go at the head of the bench. It all works fine. And instead of having your feet kind of staggered, you have your feet in a balanced stance and then one hand on the bench, and that's why it's called a 3-point row. You have 3 points of contact here, and you're left with the dumbbell like this, and you're doing that same rowing motion like this. Frankly, there's not much difference. What matters mostly is what your arm is doing, frankly. And so if you feel way more comfortable, or one of them just way more feasible in your gym, because frankly, you can do a 3-point row in different places in the gym. You could do a 3-point row by maybe grabbing the weight rack, or holding onto a machine, or on a kitchen counter at home, or a coffee table. And so a 3-point row can actually be really nice from a utility standpoint when you don't have a nice, comfortable bench to kind of brace against, but you do have any other implement roughly at this height that you can kind of put one hand against and do a row like this.